That's why.
I have a question for you. I have a clarifying question.
She's always angry.
Can I have a clarifying question?
No, because you have to talk to me, Francesca, not you.
Nori, can we have control in the room? I don't know what happened.
I was
She came in,
Silence.
quiet.
Silence.
Yeah, Nori, take control.
My goodness. To say that is this the best you got doesn't really address it. I mean, if you deem my example as a very weak one, I could have given another one. Alternatively,
you your example. You let me. Okay, so do you think transsexual people are new? Do you think it's a new thing?
regardless of if it's a new phenomenon or
Well,
not,
no,
doesn't really change the fact
So
that.
can you just answer the question and then I'll move on?
No problem. The thing is, right, and this
You
is
think it's new?
hear me out. Don't pin me to one worded answer, and
Okay.
then you can get. Allow me to respond. The beauty of Islam is, right, if Islam has made a claim, right, that this is immoral, and it remains, right, to say that this is immoral, it is immoral. Regardless if someone has done it in the past or someone will do it in the future, it does not disqualify, right? But you as an atheist or agnostic, right, cannot come and make the same claim. So even if it's a not new example, it doesn't, we're speaking about limitations on some freedom here. And that's what we're speaking about. Whether they
think that trans people choose to be trans?
100%, of course they do. What the hell? Of course.
You obviously don't understand transsexuality then.
Does someone choose to remove their genitals?
Yes, they do. Genderism.
Tell me a trans person that's born trans.
No problem.
Anybody who's trans.
Nobody's born trans.
How can you be born trans?
Trans is an activity.
Gender identity
You know that
it's an actual state of brain. It's an actual brain
I
state.
think we're shifting. You can't be born in some imaginary transformation period between a man and a woman.
Order. Guys.
That was the dumbest thing I ever heard.
I think we were talking about the definition of worship. I think we dragged the conversation completely different.
Yeah, exactly. Remember, it means can Sky repeat his definition of worship for us by any chance? The hail, if you want to clarify it again.
You're asking me to repeat a definition of worship?
Yeah, so we can go back to the conversation I had.
Well, basically, worship is overall, is more commonly known as a religious term in which one worships an entity, a religion,
You can't use the
a set
word
of
again as a
precepts, right?
definition.
You're telling me that I worship something, and I want to know what that is.
I asked you to define worship, and I would appreciate it if you don't use the word worship within the definition. Like, what is worship?
Subjugation to an entity.
No.
Not exactly.
Subjugation? Or would you say submission? Willful submission?
Both things.
Now,
But there's like a positive element to it, right?
Is there?
It's not just like I am your slave now. It's like, oh, I love you. You are amazing. That's like worship, no?
Okay, well, here's an example where I would think would be worshipable. If a god, right, was actually proved to exist to me, right, and like to everybody. If God appeared, told everyone he existed, and we knew for a fact, created by this one entity. Hold on.
what's a
I would, hold on, finish, I'm almost done. I would
I'm
probably
just curious
worship
about.
and be grateful to that entity, right? For giving me the life that I have. But I don't believe that's the case. I don't think
What
that
proof do
thing
you require? Like, what proof do you require from like a creator?
empirical evidence would be the best.
It doesn't work that way.
We all know that's not going to happen, right?
Yeah, because it's wrong measures anyway, or metrics to use anyway.
Well, does
But
God,
look,
does
worship,
God,
You use empirical evidence to prove atheism? Like,
well, look, he likes to change the direction of the conversation. We're going to stick to worship. Can I give you an example, a simple example of type of worship? Okay, someone loves money. Someone loves follow football. He supports a team. that team playing Champions League. He would do whatever it takes to be there and watch it, and he wouldn't miss it for a day. Even if his daughter's birthday, his wife's anniversary, he could miss that and go to that to support that team. That's what we call it worship, because you have no control. You don't care about priorities. You don't care about what's objective. Apart from that would satisfy you. That's what we say, a desire, because you just want to go and satisfy yourself. That's what we call it worship.
Is that analogous to the worship regarding a god?
No, but you appealing to, and this is what I said earlier.
That's more like addiction you're talking about.
Remember, you're talking about subjugation and submission to a particular entity, and this entity being a football team. Doesn't it fall in line with your definition anyway?
The problem is he's appealing to almost our kind of definition of worship, which he cannot do because he doesn't accept that to start with. Now, if you look at the linguistics
regarding football team, I don't understand why you can.
No, I gave you the analogy when we say atheists follow or worship their desire. So everyone has completely different desires. I'll give you one example. Some people have it for money, some people have it for kids, some people have it for all sorts of. Okay, so that's type of worship.
Basically,
And there's really no distinction between like worship or desire or love of or
based on which purpose. I would put it based on what purpose or whose purpose do you follow. So if your ultimate purpose is money, right? Like the Muslims follow the purpose that God has created us for. This is the purpose that we try to fulfill. Your purpose, whether it's to make money, whether it's to make yourself happy, right? This is your desires. Whether your purpose is to fulfill and satisfy your desires. So this is what you're worshiping. With the line.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Just to answer that, one second. Let me give you the analogy of us worshiping God. So God created us and gave us desires. Even if we have desires, even if we have a love for our desires, when it comes to something that we've been told to do or not to do, there we stop. We like it or we don't like it. Okay. The time that I'm going to be watching football, the time with the call for prayer, I'm going to go for prayer. The time when my kids need me, I'm going to put in priorities. I like it or don't like it. That's the difference of worship. Okay. So we put our desires on hold because it's what priorities. If we go following our desires, we're not going to be able to do the right thing.
I'm not sure what you said there. You're determining that in one way we worship things, and in another way theists worship things. And what's actually the reason to equivocate on these things? You're just insisting that the things that I like and do, I worship.
Yeah, right? because you have no criteria.
Is it the way that you worship a god, though?
No. It's not about liking, and this is what I'm trying to say from the beginning. You cannot appeal to solely the Muslim definition of worship and go with that, because you, as an atheist or agnostic, or someone who doesn't accept our faith, for you, the definition of worship is far broader than that, right? Like, if I ask you a question, what does it mean if I was to say that one worships his own desires? What would that mean to you?
It would mean, it sounds like the kind of thing that religious people say about non-believers, is what it sounds like. Because I don't know anyone who says
but
that.
Don't appeal.
I guess in a colloquial way, right? Like, it can be used as almost a slang or description, but it doesn't necessarily mean the same thing. So, like, what is the point of the room?
Look, we can go back to the title of the room, right? The idea here is, I'm telling you, you keep appealing back to Islam, right? If you want to discuss solely on the grounds of Islam, we can do that, no problem. But we're trying to show you something here, right? So I'm asking you, like, don't say this is what religious people say. I'm asking to you as a person, would that be inaccurate to say that someone worships their desires? What would that mean to you?
I think that would be inaccurate.
Right. So, okay. So one who, for instance, in the example that Muhammad gave, or like, what does that mean? You see that as one individual simply being addicted to something, right?
It sounded more like he was describing an addiction or obsession.
Sure, okay. And where does this stem from? Like, what makes them a desire to want to do that action? What is it? Is it the desires that want to make them do it, or do we go ahead and become addicted to something that was the correct word? Don't align with our desires.
Well, so some people are addicted to things that are unhealthy, right?
No. Focus. Sky,
well, what do you want me to talk about? The football team or the other thing?
No. The idea isn't the football team. That was an analogy. That was an example. Focus with me here, right? If one individual is addicted to something, right? In usual case scenario, what does that addiction stem from? Does it stem from the desires? Yes or no? I mean, surely they desire to do something, right?
Usually it doesn't stem from desires. It stems from addiction. Generally comes from agony, childhood, sorrow or pain and hurt. Traumatic trauma is usually the number one why people become addicted to substances, right? Emotional, physical trauma.
That's definitely incorrect. That's not what the psychologist.
Excuse me. It's not incorrect.
I'll tell you why. No problem. We can. Do you have any type of clinical papers that would support what you just said? Do you have any type of works of any psychological clinics that would support you? No, I don't, because I 100% disagree. To say that the people that become addicted.
There's any clinical papers?
You're moving goalposts, but no problem. Listen, to say that people only become addicted, right, simply because it stems back to some kind of trauma.
I didn't say only.
In most cases, even then I disagree.
Yeah, I'd say in most cases, yeah.
Even then, I don't think in this society. But the idea here isn't what causes the addiction in a sense of, oh, they had some traumatic experience. I'm saying one should have a desire, right? Like in the analogy of the football club that he gave you. I'm asking you, and I'll ask for the last time, and if we cannot agree, then we can just move from this, because I don't want to go in circular notions. Surely they desire to do that, right? Therefore, they become addicted to it. No?
Yeah. No, I agree. So, Sky.
Okay, go ahead. I'll agree. I agree. They desired it at one point, or for whatever reason, they did. Okay.
All right. So the idea here is that, as an atheist, when you don't have any objective truth, any thing that you worship, that is objectively true, so you are automatically worshiping your desires when you do not follow anything but what you want.
I don't agree.
Does that follow?
No, it doesn't agree.
What do you
not follow at all?
What do you not agree with?
The idea that if I'm not following an objective truth or whatever you said, that I'm worshiping whatever it is that I am or do or desire, right?
Yeah, because you're living your life based on what you want, what your desires, right? This is what you live your life by.
What does that have to do with worship?
It's subjective. It's man-made.
Yeah, but I think he's missing.
Well, I could argue that your choice.
I think you're missing the concept of worship here. Okay.
I can argue that your choices are subjective too.
Yeah. So worship doesn't mean this ritual in religion. Okay. Worship, as we're explaining it, and it's widely understood. You're right. Sometimes colloquially, people take certain understandings, but that's not the real meaning of the word, right? So all of the understandings of worship, right, with the exception of some colloquial understanding of it, includes, the reason people live their lives, what they're trying to accomplish, what their aims are, what they love, what they aspire to, what they serve, what they obey, right? And so there's an actual dichotomy, right? You're either worshiping God or you're worshiping not God, something else, right? And so you can't just say, well, no, I don't. Well,
that's
then what do you mean you don't? I'm not giving an analogy. I'm saying you're either worshiping God.
You're worshiping God or you're worshiping not God.
I don't think it's not incorrect.
I think
you still have an assumption of the understanding of worship. Look, we built first or doing certain thing or obey our desires. Something that you like, you're going to go for it, regardless, okay? It's open field. We worship God. God give us a compass to follow. Objectively, this is good for you. This is beneficial for you as an individual, for your family, and for people that you meet or the whole humanity, okay? So those things that we need to follow, either we like it or we don't like it.
Do you have an argument for that claim?
Look, let me
You need to understand.
let me just quickly set the premise for the room. I'm going to shukr ya Akhi Muhammad. Whenever someone makes a case for something, right, just a case or an argument, or they make a point, you cannot just turn around and say that's completely incorrect. You know, you cannot appeal to your emotions. You have to prove, or at least try to articulate as to how that point is not relevant or is incorrect.
Actually, it's you have to. If you make a claim, you have to support the claim with an
Sure.
argument of some.
The burden of proof.
I don't have to rebut this claim at all until you justify.
No problem. You can ask for the individual to further substantiate their claim. That's not an issue. But unless that is done, you cannot just turn around and say, well, cut off, unmute your mic and say that's a complete incorrect example, or that's completely incorrect. And you're appealing based on your emotions. So sure, I can present a case, and if you're saying it's incorrect, you have to present why it's incorrect. You cannot just appeal to emotions and say it's incorrect. Go ahead, Akhima.
No, I was just going to try to give him the idea of the worship in terms of like a Muslim concept, and other than that, and so he'll have a bit better picture about it. But I think whenever he mentioned the worship, he had the idea of, you know, like assumption, as if like worship in different terms, the way you understand it. But I don't think we can. I mean, I'll leave Nuri or Brother Shah to carry on.
Yeah, no, I see. At the end of the day, we don't want to go around this specific point for too long. So, Sky, we've defined for you, right? We've explained to you what worship means. Even if, for the sake of the argument, even if you had a previous idea of what worship means, we've explained it to you. Would you, based on the explanation that has been provided, do you agree that you worship your desires?
No.
Based on the explanation of worship that has been provided. See, I repeated that specific statement.
No, I don't. Because I feel
Why
like,
do you not?
because you guys have just kind of hijacked the word, what it's really known to mean, in order to like claim that we're the same as you in some form, which is a really weird.
We agree. I said based on the explanation provided, whether you would agree or disagree with that explanation, right? Because I don't want to keep going around, right? This is an explanation that a lot of us agree upon here. But if you're not agreeing with it, I'm saying based on what has been explained. Based on what has been explained, do you agree that you worship your desires?
No. So.
Why not?
Because I don't worship anything.
Okay, so you worship nothing.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see the inherent, contradiction in that statement. So I put it out there.
Can you show me the contradiction?
Nothing is not something to be worshipped. To say
I
you
don't
worship
anything.
Yeah, so you're saying I don't worship.
I don't worship.
Yeah, exactly. Look, this is the only reason this is a difficult conversation is because you have some like aversion to the word worship. Like as though if you say you worship something, you're going to become a theist or something.
I don't worship.
Oh, yeah, I'm saying, don't worry, Sky. Like you're not going to become a theist if you use the word worship in a sentence. So just because you have this aversion to the word, the way it's being described, the way it's being defined, I think what you're trying to say is no, this is not the correct definition of worship. And then the question would be, why would we accept your definition of worship? You don't do it in the first place. So why should you articulate for us the meaning of something that you don't do according to yourself?
I'm not sure why that's an interesting point in this regard, because
think about what you're saying.
Telling. So no, I will. What's happening is that you're giving a broad definition of worship, and then when I do not agree that I worship anything, you start attacking what you think my definition of worship is, and I'm not sure what we're trying to get to? What is it you're trying to say?
Your definition.
I worship things too? I mean, okay, I'll grant you that. If that's what you need to say to move the argument forward.
No, but for the last time, guys, you keep appealing to the religious definition of worship when it's been articulated to you many times that the linguistic definition of worship is not solely the definition that you have given. It's far broader than that.
And I'll grant you that, but I will tell you that I don't worship anything in that way.
Okay, let's try it this way. Could you, in like a short sentence or two, tell me what is the definition of worship after it's been articulated to you?
No, I'll grant you your definition of worship. I'm granting that, and I'm telling you that I don't worship anything.
No, because
under that definition.
Before I go on to tell you how, I want to be sure that you understood the definition of worship that has been given to you. Since you're saying you concede to it or you accept it, thank you. Now tell me.
There's no reason for me to give it back to you. I grant you the definition.
And this just goes to show that you do not.
Based on the definition
you said that
provided.
Worship was following
you say
or
you
loving
don't.
someone's own desires, right? Appealing to the will of one's own self or desires is also a part of the definition of worship, right? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. So based on what are you saying that you do not worship your desires? If you follow everything based on what you want to live your life based on your desires.
This is a false equivocation on the word. You guys are really.
But I thought you just said you accepted it.
Right. So
but when he understands the entailment of it.
What is the reason? What is the reason why you're trying to do this with the word worship and non-believers? What's the point?
So the point for us is not to reach it right now.
You're stretching the meaning.
We're not stretching anything.
Hold on, excuse me.
You either accept it or you don't.
I promise.
You either accept it or don't.
You're stretching the meaning out past what it means to most people, right? And then you're insisting that atheists also worship to what end? What is the reasoning? What is the reason why you do this and want to get this back?
So maybe Nuri can explain that.
To prove what?
So maybe Nuri can explain that. But just for a moment, Sky, we're not stretching it beyond the most people in this group, or the most people in the world today, or the most people in history. So I think you have to realize, and I hope you can do some research on the word, it's more in line with what we're saying than what you're saying. Like, in fact, you are trying to restrict the meaning just so it doesn't apply to you. And that's just the reality here, right? So go to any definition, go to all the books you want, look it up, right? Don't just take one definition, don't even take our definition.
Okay, so
but there's no reason to insist that we are the ones stretching the term.
For the sake of argument, I'll follow your definition and I'll say, yeah, I worship my desires. So now what?
Now, are your desires worthy of worship?
Yes.
Well, then that's fine. I mean, good luck, all the best to you. I mean, we can't do that.
No, I mean, look, he's just going to say yes, right? Because
for the sake of argument,
you clearly, not even for the sake of argument. I think it's like, look, if you take a moment and reflect, are your desires actually worthy of worship?
Yeah, no, this is the point. I mean, do your desires always lead?
When you say that, are they worthy of worship? That's where you're fucking this.
Nobody changed any definition.
Nuri, and guys, please, you have to realize something. He's not willing to engage. He's just refusing. Just, granting. He's throwing.
No, I think you're right, Muhammad. In general, yes. In general, that might be the case, but right now he is willing to engage. And now he's reaching the point where we're asking another question. We're not asking you, is there a different definition? You already accepted the definition. We're using that same definition now, and we're asking you another question.
They're worthy of worship.
The question, yes. So on what basis are you? Go ahead, Marie.
Because they're my desires.
Continue. So you're saying yes. So have your desires always led to good things?
In the end, yes. Yep. Because things are really good, and they're all based on the desires that I've had my entire life. And yes.
this is extremely ironic, honestly. Like, if you ask them to, like, a very simple problems, you point them out in life and you say, okay, today's society is more depressed than it's ever been. What is your cure for depression? They don't have one. And this is just one example. Now, these emotions that you want to appeal to over and over again, to make even a statement like this, like, honestly, is like, yeah, so.
I'm not appealing to emotion. I'm not sure where you can point out that I have.
No, it's fine. Like, I just wanted to ask, is everyone's desire is worthy of worship, or is yours exceptional?
I can't speak for other people in that way.
Well, we're not asking you to speak for other people. We're asking you to speak for yourself.
You said, are everyone's desires? I don't know. I can't answer.
Do you think other people's desires are worthy of worship?
You're asking me not to speak for other people. How would I know that?
I'm asking you to speak for yourself, really.
Do I think that? Sure. Yeah, I think everyone's desires are worthy of the worship based on the definition you provided.
Your
that we have agreed upon.
I'm saying your worship. Like, is it worthy of your worship?
Their desires?
Yeah. Or is yours, like, exceptional?
No, I only can worship my desires because I can't I don't have the desires of a different person. There's no way they would be exactly the same.
I'm not asking if both of your desires are the same. I'm just asking, is their desires worthy of your worship?
It depends on what their desires are.
So it's dependent upon what? If you accept them or not? Or?
Well, no, if they're my desires, I could have similar desires to another person.
So as long as you desire something, it's worthy of worship.
Under the definition that you provided, yeah, I guess.
I think, though, Sky, you're missing the question that's being asked. When we ask if it's worthy of worship, we're not asking what does it mean to worship them, or do you worship them. We already started with the definition, right? You agreed to that, and you said yes, you do worship them. We're not
the
asking
definition
a
that we've
question.
all agreed upon simply just means
yes,
living your life.
Yes, Sky, we understand that. You understand that. We understand that.
And
there's a follow-up question to that. The follow-up question is that worthy of worship? Not, are you worshiping your desires? We passed that question.
Well, it must be, because they're my desires.
Okay, so is your desires all the time doing something good? Or is it possible that it would harm people?
It's possible that I could worship something that's not good. Yeah, it's possible. I might have bad desires. Yeah.
So if it's not good,
and because of the definition, I would be worshiping that because it'd be my desires. But it may be wrong, right? I might be wrong to worship certain things.
Exactly. So it's not worthy of worship because the only worthy of worship is something good. Something
but
that's
under the
beneficial
definition,
for you.
Excuse me.
It's
Under the
beneficial
definition,
for you and other people.
Under the definition, no matter what it is that I desire, it's being worshipped. You're telling me that that's what I'm doing by having the desire in the first place.
Yeah, we're not telling you that, Sky. Like, you're not tracking the conversation.
Is that,
okay,
listen
one more
Isn't
time.
that the definition you
Sky,
gave me?
listen.
Desiring
we gave a definition of worship, then we asked you based on that definition, what do you worship? Do you worship your desires? So you said yes. You could have said, no, I don't. You could have said, no, I don't worship my desires.
I did say that already. I did. And then I just to get on with it, I agreed
that
I
based on the definition.
Yeah,
like what
you're not gaslighting when you're clearly not tracking the conversation. Okay.
Yeah, let's let Jeff also come into the conversation, introduce him to the stage. Let's not focus on one person. We need to include others. So Jeff, welcome to the stage, man. Introduce yourself a bit if you want. I know you from previous
I'm just the
conversations.
guy that's like about to mow his lawn. I just was talking about people about evolution. All the claims in the chat are just ridiculous. Evolution is undeniable, and if you're living in 2022 as an adult and deny it, it either means that you're just dishonest or you have
what is going on.
So this is a very different topic, and nobody denies evolution. We deny ape to man. This is not all of
like
evolution.
if you live in 2022 and deny that, like common ancestry, then you're just not looking at the
Yeah, you don't have it. You don't have it. There's no
Actually, we have
common.
irrefutable. We have
No, there's no
irrefutable.
common.